As the Prime Minister's US visit reaches the halfway mark, the Prime Minister is now set to address the crucial G4 meet today. The G4 comprises Germany, Brazil, Japan and India. So the platform will see some of the world's most powerful politicians sharing the dais. Now, these countries will take the lead in expanding the UNSC seats after 2004. This is the first time that a G4 summit is being held. Immediately after that, the Prime Minister leaves for the airport and departs for San Jose in California, where an excited Silicon Valley awaits him.
After 23 years of literally negotiating in thin air, we finally have a negotiating text. A text which was approved by the General Assembly, by the chair of the IGN, by the President of the General Assembly, and it will now form the basis for the negotiations when the IGN resumes in November. So this is a very important and significant step towards having a workable text on the basis of which give and take can take place, and on the basis of which we can eventually have a resolution which will finally reform and expand the Security Council. Now 4 leaders are meeting once again to give a very strong push to intergovernmental negotiations for UN Security Council reform. That is the significance.
So why is the G4 summit so crucial? To begin with, it comprises of Japan, India, Germany and Brazil. It is in favor of expansion of UNSC, pressing for a permanent UN seats. Now, the attempt is to push for early UNSC reforms, and the aim of it all is to galvanize support for the November UNGA negotiations there. The main focus, build on UNGA's adoption of negotiation text on UNSC reform. Well, after diplomacy and tough talk in New York, Modi now will head to the Silicon Valley on the West Coast. Here, the Prime Minister will interact with the biggest names in the technology business. Modi has meetings lined up with the giants of the industry. Today, he will interact with the CEOs of Apple, Google and Microsoft. The much-anticipated visit will also give Modi an opportunity to use the world's high-tech capital to promote his plans to transform India into a hub of innovation. Modi's arrival will mark the first time an Indian head of state has been in California in 33 years. Meanwhile, India Today's managing editor Rahul Kanwal brings you an exclusive report of preparations that are on for the Prime Minister's visit.
Just a few hours to go before these young members of the Indian American community get to perform before Prime Minister Narendra Modi here at the SAP Arena in California. I'm joined by a bunch of very enthusiastic people who've been hard at work for how long?
For about 4 weeks now. Yeah, and it's not just hours. We actually spend the entire weekend in studios just rehearsing and rehearsing till we get it right.
So does it make it an extra special moment for all of you, given that you'll be performing for the Indian Prime Minister?
Oh, definitely. This is a very unique opportunity. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. This is his first trip to the Silicon Valley, and I think I understand that this is the first Prime Minister to actually come to Silicon Valley. I know years ago there was a Prime Minister who came to San Francisco, but we are the tech hub of the world, we'd like to think. So it's very exciting to welcome Prime Minister Modi.
Do any of you follow the Prime Minister and his politics, or he's just someone who's coming and it's a big opportunity to perform in front of 30,000 people?
I've heard he's done many great things, and he has.
Like what have you heard?
I've heard he was previously worked in Gujarat, and he did many. He helped with the politics there. So yeah.
Okay.
And his contribution to the IT sector in general, like how aware he is and how much he has contributed to the growth, and just making it more accessible is amazing, and we really appreciate that. And my parents absolutely follow him, so I get all the updates whenever I call them and I talk to them. So it's just amazing.
It's mostly through your parents, or do any of you follow Modi yourself?
No, I don't follow. I don't understand any Hindi, so I can't keep up with what he says.
But this is a big moment for you all to be part of. Tell me, of all that you've been performing and practicing, which song do you think is the one you'd like to dedicate to the Prime Minister?
I think Chak De India, because it's about India. And I think that's one of the most upbeat songs in the performance.
So most of you were born here in the United States. Do you think of yourselves more as Americans? Do you think of yourselves as part Indians? Are you confused?
No, I'm not confused. I'm still Indian. It's Dil mein we are Hindustanis. So we still feel dance is a way to get connected back. Bollywood definitely to be connected back with India. So yeah.
So how do you see yourselves playing a role in some of what the Prime Minister wants Indians abroad to do, to try and contribute in building India?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just feel like just us getting together here in the Bay Area, in Silicon Valley, and we're all, like, some of us are really working in high-tech industries. We always try to come together and be connected to the community and do something and give back to the community. So yeah, in a big way, we feel like we do our small part, but together we do make a difference.
But do performances such as this help bring the community together, foster a bond?
Definitely. I mean, I'm born and brought up here, but dance is my connection to India's heritage and India's culture. And all of us that come together, we end up spending so much time together that we're really more like a family. It's like having an extended family here. And for many of our dancers, they've come here for work. So we are the only family that we all have for each other here.
All right. We wish you all the best. We look forward to seeing you perform come Sunday. Thank you very much for speaking to India today. Thank you. Thank you.
Meanwhile, at the UN Sustainable Growth Summit, the Prime Minister called for reforms at the United Nations. He said that for maintaining UN credibility, it was important to expand UN Security Council. The Prime Minister also spoke on empowering the poor and women. The Prime Minister stressed on developed countries fulfilling their responsibility when it comes to climate change. Now, after his big-ticket UN address, he will address the UNGA. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister held bilateral talks with Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Sweden in New York.
समूचा विश्व एक दूसरे से जुड़ा हुआ है, एक दूसरे पर निर्भर है और एक दूसरे से संबंधित है। इसलिए हमारी अंतर्राष्ट्रीय साझेदारी को भी पूरी मानवता के कल्याण को अपने केंद्र में रखना होगा। सुरक्षा परिषद समेत संयुक्त राष्ट्र में भी सुधार अनिवार्य है ताकि इसकी विश्वसनीयता तथा औचित्य बना रह सके।
2015 की जो सुरक्षा परिषद है वो 1945 की जो जियोपॉलिटिकल रियलिटीज हैं उनका आईना, उनका प्रतिबिंब नहीं हो सकती है। उसमें सुधार आना आवश्यक है, उसमें विस्तार आना आवश्यक है और तभी जो सुरक्षा परिषद है वो सक्षम हो सकेगी कि जो आज के आधुनिक चैलेंजेस हैं हमारे सामने, साइबर सिक्योरिटी का चैलेंज है, इंटरनेशनल टेररिज्म का चैलेंज है, उनसे हम निपट सकें। सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल और जनरल असेंबली के बीच में जो तालमेल है वो निर्धारित किया जाए और कुल मिलाकर इस मुद्दे पर एक गंभीर चर्चा हो ताकि जो 17वां एनिवर्सरी यूनाइटेड नेशंस की हम लोग मनाने जा रहे हैं, जो शुरुआत हो चुकी है, 1 साल चलेगी वो, उस दौरान हम ये बहुत बड़ा एक जो है मूलभूत परिवर्तन यूनाइटेड नेशंस की व्यवस्था में ला सकें।
And joining us for more is our deputy editor, Smita Sharma, live directly from New York. Smita, we know it's late and, you need to get to bed because you have to catch your sleep because tomorrow it's an early morning for you. But just before we let you go, summarize for us Prime Minister Modi's New York trip.
Well, on his New York leg of the American tour, Narendra Modi has really pushed for greater trade, investment, for shored up FDI from American firms. That's the reason why he has had a series of interactions with top CEOs. But at the same time, one of the key focus areas has also been to try and push for the permanent spot on an expanded United Nations Security Council, something that India has been, of course, striving for the past many decades. And that seems to be a priority item on Narendra Modi's foreign policy bucket list as of now, and which is the reason why in New York we've seen a host of bilateral meetings that he has held with leaders of Egypt, to Jordan, to his counterparts in Bhutan, to the Sri Lankan president. Also, he will be holding further meetings with the heads of states of UK, France and Barack Obama itself when he crisscrosses back from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast on the 28th of September. That was also one of the core areas, core thrust areas, when he addressed the Sustainable Development Summit in New York on Friday afternoon, and absolutely tried driving home the point that the world has changed. These are different times and different challenges that we are talking about, and it's time that all the world bodies, be the IMF, the World Bank or the United Nations Security Council, were to be more broad-based. And that is where the G4 summit meeting now becomes significant. The first of the G4 summit meeting, which is being held after 2004, which was earlier held at the ministerial level but now upgraded to the prime ministerial level, and India will be chairing this G4 summit on Saturday morning. morning, with Germany, Japan and Brazil also in attendance before Narendra Modi flies off to San Jose to woo the Silicon Valley.